Hello and welcome to Video Mixer 1. It's our introductory lesson on using the TriCaster video mixer system here in our studio. At first blush, the control room here in the back can seem kind of intimidating. There's a lot of buttons and screens and various things going on back here. But once you kind of get the idea of where everything's going, it's a lot simpler than it seems. The first thing we're going to make you familiar with on the TriCaster system is the switchboard. And there's a lot of buttons and text here. So the easiest way to think about this is that each one of the buttons in the rows there represents a different source or input. The three rows in the center here basically tell the TriCaster where we want our signal or source to be sent. Now you'll notice that we have the exact same labels corresponding to the three rows. So camera or source input 1 is going to be the same whether we're working in the live row, the effects row, or the preview row. Camera 2 will be the same if we're working in all three of those, camera 3, and so on. Basically, each of these three rows is just telling the system to send that specific input to a different place. The effects row or blue row is used for green screen and chroma key, which we'll be covering at a later date. The live row or red row is telling the program what you actually want to send out to the viewers, to be recorded or to go into the live stream. So as you can see, anything that's selected in that row is going to be going into the live output, and that's what the viewers are actually going to see on their television. The preview row or green row is a way to queue up a source like a camera or a piece of B-roll to get an idea of what it looks like. This is typically used to set up a shot that you're going to take, or it is also used to set up a transition effect. At the bottom we have an auto and a take button. The take button basically just swaps what's in the preview monitor for what's in the live monitor. So if you have a shot in preview that you want to send live, you can just hit the take button. The auto button executes the same function but with a transition, and that's going to use the default transition in the system, which is typically a cross dissolve, although those transitions can be changed. Next to our input rows we have the T-bar, which allows you to have more control over the speed and duration of your transitions. It basically allows you to manipulate them manually. And again, transitions are always going to be between what's in your live feed and what's in your preview feed. Over here we have some effects and transition selection tools, but this is a little bit easier to manipulate if you're just using the mouse and keyboard on the screen, so we'll cover that in a second. There are some more transition controls down here that we're not going to cover in this particular module. What we are going to cover is in the far bottom right here, which is our overlay control. The overlay allows us to layer text and graphics on top of the video, like so. Typically, we're going to input text into this area, and so we want to make sure that the text button is highlighted. You'll notice a box in the upper right-hand corner that shows the piece of text that's going to overlay on top of the video. And then these buttons in the bottom right tell us how you want to bring in the piece of text or graphics that you want to overlay. Take overlay is going to bring it in like a cut, but typically we're going to want to fade that in and out, so we'll use the fade overlay button, which brings it in as a dissolve. Now that we've seen how the switchboard manipulates the sources going into our live video stream, let's take a look at how this all transpires on your screen. As you can see, the buttons on your switchboard correlate to graphics on the screen, so if you prefer, you can actually execute all of the functions using your mouse. And one area where I'd recommend making changes digitally on the screen with your mouse is when you're changing the transitions you want to use. You have a lot more precise control over what you want to do over in this window. As you can see, the default transition is going to be a cross dissolve, but there are a variety of wipes and 3D transitions that you can also select. And to change the transition, you basically just need to select it. Use some of the more exotic transitions carefully. We're now going to review the tabs here at the bottom of the screen. I'm not going to get into them too deeply today, but there are two areas that I want to make you aware of. The first is the DDR. The DDR tab allows us to bring in video and picture sources that are saved to the TriCaster itself. We'll typically be inputting our B-roll into the DDR. The other tab I want to make you aware of is the text tab, and this allows us to select from preset lower thirds and overlays that we can bring into our program Those are the basics of how the TriCaster video mixer system works. Again, the most important thing to remember is that the buttons represent a source, and that source is basically being told where it needs to go. If you don't remember anything else, remember that the red buttons indicate the live feed, which is what the audience is actually going to see. If you have further questions about the video mixer, please bring them up at the next class period, and good luck in your live production endeavors.